which is told by their stooges in government. And we have an unaccountable media doing exactly the same thing. On yet a third hand, we have literally millions, 11th hour pretenders and plagiarists, pledging purported alternate solution after alternate solution, when the very work which has turned the world against interest was from its inception a proof of one solution. Which then are the facts here? And why isn't it that we ourselves can see through each of these purported alternate solutions if we only understood what little we have presented in the first few minutes again of just this program? Is all money wrong because the only money we haven't known because we haven't even apprehended it? Is all prospective tokenization of our wealth wrong because a purposed obfuscation of our currency, which is terminal, is wrong? Yet there are some 11th hour imitators who assert that money itself is wrong, irrespective of the facts we need to tokenize wealth if we are to enjoy universal trade, and the fact that we need to do so as we have prescribed if we are to avoid any injury to anyone. How then can a lack of possible injury be any injury to any of us? Why then merely claim money or monetization is wrong, that it damages us, if the only rightful means of monetization inflicts no damage whatsoever? How would you prove justified monetization is wrong? I do not say that the love of money or wealth is right. I say that just means of monetization is indispensable to just trade, production, and prosperity. And I will address this issue further in today's program. So today I would like to speak about several things. I would like to speak about political prospects, the media, and the possibility of accomplishing our vital objects anyway, but by our mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. To do that, as we did last week, we will have to address further purported alternate solutions. But already today, we have again outlined the problem, its solution, and the only means of establishing that solution. We have to say after this much of an introduction then, only concurs with the facts you need to understand if we are ever to unite and to achieve solution. I suppose the first thing I might do today then is read a very short article from a local paper here. We live in a small town of 200 people, which is 30 miles outside a small town of 10,000 people, which has a small paper. It's called the Baker City Herald. This article is classified under a section that's called Nation, and it's a more or less just a brief sidebar to the main page of this section, the front page of this section, Nation. Under the title of this sidebar, which is a short article, just a few paragraphs, which the title of which is Economic Forecast Brightens. The date of the paper is January 28th, 2011. I keep an occasional thing like this as a record of the deceptions which are constantly perpetrated against us. Economic forecast brightens. This was published January 28th, 2011, very earliest parts of this year. Washington. Employers will hire more workers this year, and the economy will grow faster than envisioned 3 months ago, according to an Associated Press survey that found growing optimism among leading economists. Well, let's just stop there for 1 second and think, what are leading economists but advocates of a system which steals from us? What is their optimism if it isn't about stealing more from us, But the cause of the optimism, as it would relate to us, of course, is the whole hinging fact, if there is such a fact, of this article. And note whether or not they actually explain how there could possibly be true optimism in regard particularly to the fact that it's mathematically impossible even to maintain a vital circulation without accumulating further debt, which of course we see happening everywhere around us. In all our lives, we've seen happening everywhere around us. So this article continues then. But unemployment will stay chronically high. Chronically high. Not only high, but chronically high. What's the optimism? I mean, that right there invalidates any genuine reason for optimism. How could you possibly have a restoration of prosperity to any degree and not have a relief to unemployment? But unemployment will stay chronically high, nearly 9% by year's end. It's already far above that. It's a lie that it's only in the high 9th percentile. Nearly 9% by year's end, the latest quarterly AP, Associated Press, economy survey shows. A majority of economists, the liars who deceive us to exploit us, say it will be 2016 or later before unemployment drops to a historically normal rate of around 5%. But ask yourself, how is that possible with an inherent escalation of artificial indebtedness, even through these terminal stages of this finite lifespan of this terminal system? How is it possible that we're going to have a historically normal rate of unemployment of 5%? And in fact, ask yourself this: why should we have 5% unemployment? How is it we can't have full employment? How is that? So we're not only not going to restore 5% unemployment, we're never going to have full employment, which is a far worse thing from the very beginning. Why haven't we asked since the very beginning, why can't we all be employed? Economists, of course, we know why we can't be employed, because this multiplication of artificial indebtedness destroys industry. It destroys the solubility of industry. It expatriates our industry to other countries where slave labor markets can be exploited to afford to service the debt that's been accumulated, that's saddled upon that particular industry, whatever it may be. It's a consequence of this irreversible escalation of exploitation that industry is destroyed, jobs are destroyed, our ability to service debt is destroyed, and the whole thing tumbles down like the proverbial house of cards. Economists have become more confident. Well, how is that cause for more confidence? 2016 until we're going to have what they call a normal unemployment rate, which isn't normal at all, because anyone who wants to work could work if we merely eradicated the system of exploitation and restored the resultant state to what it would have been under mathematically perfected economy. Who wanted to work would not be able to work. What would prevent them from doing so? Yet it says economists have become more confident 19 months after the worst recession since the Great Depression ended. It's ended. They said it's ended. As I explained, you don't have to do much traveling across this country, and you see this isn't just a recession. I'm sorry. Major tourist towns which would be at the top of their business cycle at this time of the year, their natural income occurs over these months. There's 80% of the town is closed down. That's not a recession. And I've got pictures of it, not just one town, not just another town, and the back roads even show a far, far worse condition. I mean, there is, if it hasn't been dilapidated for so long, for such a long recession, a continual decline, it may be for sale, but it isn't open any longer. They're calling this a recession, and they're telling us it's over in January. Is it over, ladies and gentlemen? Absolutely not. These are some of the most cruel lies that can be told. Economists have become more confident 19 months after the worst recession since the Great Depression ended. It only lasted 19 months, and it's over. It's been ended. You believe this, of course. People do. People believed this. People read this and took encouragement from it because they didn't understand what was wrong or how to fix it. That the present conditions are the consequence of one of the greatest crimes against humanity in history. They read this and they took encouragement from it because they didn't know any better, because they weren't critical thinkers, because they didn't listen to just the first few minutes of this program or anything like it, which I've produced over and over and over again for 43 years. And now there's mattresses and across the floor of their businesses, and the people have long since disappeared. The worst depression since the Great Depression ended, it says. Lower Social Security taxes and higher stock prices will embolden Americans to spend more and help power the economy, they say. Who's they? I want to know. I want these people named, because they're committing treason against my country. They're destroying it. They're destroying your country as well. I want their names. I want accounts from them. How this recession was a recession, and how indeed it is over, and what is emboldening them that can't possibly rightly embolden us. People will finally recognize, this is a quote now, people will finally recognize that an economic recovery is underway, said Lynn Reeser, a board member of the National Association for Business Economics. This won't be a recovery seen only by economists. Is that so? The gains this year will be enough to withstand the threats still clouding the economy, the AP survey found. I would bet my last penny that they didn't even define what those threats are. Is it a terminal sum of indebtedness which can only multiply further beyond our means? Was that the question they submitted to this poll? You bet your last penny they didn't. The gains this year will be enough to withstand the threats still clouding the economy, the AP survey found. Did it find that? A majority of the economists doubt, for example, that falling home prices and higher mortgage rates will pose a major risk to the economy in 2011. We already have record foreclosure rates.